Good afternoon, guys. It's Aaron Woodward here for AddictedOTR.com, and I'm joined today by Jake Brutal Bostwick. Um, Before we get into your fight at the weekend against Danny Mitchell, Jake, I just want to kind of start from the start of your career because your career is nothing short but inspirational in my eyes. So you tell us in
Yep.
your own words how you started mixed martial arts.
How'd I start? Wow. I was doing judo and stuff as a kid. To be honest, I was one of them kids where I always seemed to get in grief when I was at school. And then it was one of them ones where I kind of turned it around to putting it positive and doing some boxing and things like that. I was never a troublemaker or anything. It just always worked out that way because I was a big kid at school. And then when I was like 13, 14, I was playing rugby and doing judo and stuff. And then when I hit like 15, I was still at school. I was doing MMA once a week, like in a church. It was just some really small little gym. Well, no, it wasn't even a gym. We used to put mats out and just train. So it wasn't even a gym, just like a facility that we used. And then, a fight opportunity popped up about me fighting when I was 16, like pro rules. Against a fella called Tory Groman, and I say that I was 16. I was at school doing my exams, and then we said yes, and then I blagged my date of birth on the contract to make out I was 18 because you could head stomp and everything. It was when Cage Rage had a Cage Rage Contenders show. It was their first show, and you could head stomp. So I was 16 at school, and I just loved fighting. So. Yeah, I went to that fight, got a victory, and then moved on to the next one and next one, and I am to where I am now. Obviously, I had a rough patch, didn't I, at the beginning of my career, so...
Yeah, I was just making into that, but saying that as well, I mean, you're only 26 now. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of fighters that I know about. I don't know about into complete detail, but when I watched your fight at the weekend, I thought, you know what, because I really enjoyed your fight. I'll have a look into this guy, and I thought, is this guy really 26? Did he actually have his first fight in 2006 when he was 10
Yeah,
when he was 16 years old? What did your
yeah.
parents actually think of that as well, and your friends and your
My,
family?
my dad was very supportive. He's the one that took me to the gym because obviously I couldn't even drive to the gym because I wasn't old enough. So my dad obviously, helped out a lot of things like that and whatever. Obviously, MMA when I was younger wasn't really a big deal. It was more, just fighting for the sake of fighting because I liked fighting. I made money. I didn't really see it as, okay, I'm going to make a career of this. I didn't do that. I was working. I was doing like labouring. I'd done a plumbing apprenticeship and I'd done stuff like that. So obviously for me it was just make some money and have a scrap on the weekend. That's literally how I thought about it until obviously I had a few losses behind me and it was like, okay, either I'm going to stop fighting or continue. And then, I had some good support, I say, from my dad, and my mum didn't like it first of all, but then she was turned from that to super proud in what I'm doing now. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because people at that age when they're 16, when they're doing the GCSEs, they're looking at going to college, usually playing a football, and you're in there with guys nearly double your age, knocking them out.
Yep,
It's
that's
pretty.
exactly what it was, mate. That's exactly how it was. Obviously, with men, with actual men, it wasn't. I was still a boy. I didn't even have facial hair.
So
It's crazy.
was you always a big guy as well? Have you always been a big
Um,
guy?
yeah, I say when I was 16, I fought at 185, 84 kilos. So, and I was in shape as well. Like I was butch. I was a big kid. I wasn't never a little kid. That's why I always seemed to get in grief because I was the big kid, not super fat or anything. Like I was muscly. I was going gym with my dad when I was like 11, 12. So I was a little bit tall. Like for my age then, I was still quite tall and still quite broad. And I was playing rugby and stuff. So I was in the gym doing weights and stuff with my dad and things like that. And then just one thing led to another really. And obviously I'm at the point now where I am.
Yeah, I mean, you did have a great start to your career. I mean, you won your first three, and then as you were saying before, you went on a bit of a losing streak. Was there any point in that losing streak where you thought, do you know what, maybe this isn't for me?
The actual last loss I took that loss at, like obviously in that 7 fights. I mean, I took that loss and I was like, right, I'm gonna have one more fight, and then if I win, I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna bet on myself. But if I lose, I'm gonna just call it a day because I can't continue doing this. This is silly. Like, why am I fighting? I'm not even winning. It's pathetic. So I had that fight, and I got a 32-second TKO finish in the first round, and I was like, okay, I've still got it. And then I won again and again and again. I had 4 wins. Then I lost at 93 kilos. I fought at 205 against Mike Edwards. He was massive. I almost knocked him out. I come out scrapping, rocked him. He was rocked up on the cage. And then I think I went to take him down. He sort of like sprawled, and I think he took my back either way, and he choked me out, and I lost. And then I turned it round, dropped weight, got back at it, and I've won my last 11 fights, not lost since 2009. Yeah, so that's a big turning point in my career.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wrote a post last night saying I was talking to you today, and I actually got it wrong. I said you've had 14 wins out of your last 15. It was actually 15 out of the last 16.
15 out of 16, yeah.
So yeah, you started on that winning streak, and then is in this winning streak, is there any memorable fights that you remember that you think are your best performances?
But I had a great out of my last 11. I had a good finish over Jermaine Facey and a good finish over Denison Sutherland.
Yeah,
both, clean KOs.
I mean, you fought Denison twice as well. You won the first fight in a split decision. And then what was the reason for the rematch? Is that something you wanted?
The rematch, so obviously I beat him on a split decision. Him and others were like, no, you didn't win it, and it was a bit controversy or whatever. Anyway, then I dropped weight after that to welterweight. Took the welterweight title. What did I take? No. I can't remember. No. I didn't.
All right, carry on.
I didn't have a belt. My bad. Sorry. Denniston after that had fought and won and whatever, and then he fought back and knocked out Mark Weir and took the UCMMA or the Cage Rage UK middleweight title. And obviously, because I'd already beat him, I was like, obviously I deserve a shot at that title. So I was his first title defense. He accepted the fight. It was like, no problem. He's going to break me, blah, blah, blah. And obviously I knocked him out in the first round, took the belt. Bosh, have that. And then after that fight, I think I then dropped to welterweight. Then I won the welterweight title, knocking out Jermaine Facey. So I was a middleweight and the welterweight champion. And then, after that, I think I had a K1 fight after that because I got offered some good money. So I said yes. It was K1 with 4-ounce gloves. So I scrapped it out with a fellow called Luke Sines. He's like 23-2 or something. He's a really good K1 fighter, like really, really good fight. Again, it's on YouTube. We have a really good scrap. And I won that and just continued winning, mate.
Yeah, I mean, for me as well, I think another memorable fight was just because of the size as well was Boubacar Balde. I mean,
Boubacar Balde, that was a war.
Absolutely massive. That guy was huge. I mean, you're a big guy yourself, but he actually made you look really small.
Oh, it made me look tiny. He's now 205. He fights at 93 kilos now.
Yeah, I can fully understand that as well.
He's massive. He's a very big man. But obviously, it's not always about the size. 'Cause obviously, you see how tired he got. Obviously with the big cut and that. So
yeah, a lot of it's leverage as well. A lot of it can be leverage over strength.
Totally.
In parts of like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But
exactly.
But when he was kind of holding on to you and clinching against you, did he feel really heavy against you?
He did feel quite heavy. He was more top heavy than bottom heavy. He didn't have really big legs, but he had obviously very broad chest and shoulders and back and stuff. But he felt heavy, but nothing that I've not dealt with. I spar and train with light heavyweights and heavyweights. It's not something I'm not used to because I'm a big guy. I have to go with big guys myself. So, I'm used to that. I was used to that, so it wasn't an issue or a factor.
I mean, something I've kind of come to understand in your fights as well. I mean, something you're really good at, even though you're quite short guy for a middleweight. Something you're really good at is closing in distance and closing the area. It's like let's get into the Danny Mitchell fight now. I mean, Danny's he's 6'2", I think he is, and he was trying to use his range, but you're so good at closing the distance and trying to land your shots, but you're also good at bopping and weaving as well. What you seem to do
Yep.
quite a lot is feinting with your hands.
Yeah, do you know
Is
what?
that something you've always done?
Not necessarily. If you actually look back on my fights, the fight that you just see was kind of an advanced version of what I am about, you know? If you look at my head movement, my hand movement, my foot movement, you know, I was very like in and out, bouncy on my toes, a little bit more springy, ready to explode, you know, 0 to 100, 0 to 100. That's how it always is. Stay relaxed, you know, pop a few jabs, find your range. And then my whole strategy for that fight was throw when he throws, like pressure him to when he has to strike. And then when he is striking, you strike, because that's when I'm going to find the openings. That's when I close the distance, because he's not going to be moving back while he's punching. So if you see, I close him down, I wait, and then you see him take like a base and then throw I think he threw a left hook, and as soon as he threw it, I stop and I throw a punch. But I was pressuring him. It was the whole strategy. All I worked for that whole fight was jab to the body, overhand right, and
Yeah,
it just
because
worked a peach.
it was kind of the fight itself. It was a kind of a classic grappler versus striker match, and obviously his intention was to take you to the ground straight away and put his weight on top of you and things like that. Because Danny's well known for his submissions, and he's well known
Hmm.
for very unorthodox submissions. I think he's the first guy that anyone knows in the MMA community who's got two twisters over
Over fighters, yeah.
in their career.
Yeah, I know.
So
All I worked was twister escapes, guillotine escapes, heel hook escapes. I just worked so many escapes because obviously I knew that I just wanted to get up onto my feet. So all I worked was bad positions. If I get into a good position, punch him. If I'm on my feet, punch him, boot his calf. That was it. It was so simple. Such a simple strategy. I knew if we're standing up, we're in my world. If we're on the ground, I need to be getting back up because I don't want to be there. You know, and there was no way he would have wrestled me and got me down because my wrestling defense is on point. Never in a million years would he be able to have taken me down, which you see. He took that shot and it wasn't even like an inkling. It was, you know, whether it was more of a setup for something or desperation, I really don't know. But obviously he even said afterwards, I don't know why I shot, because he shot from quite far out. But, you know, there was no way that even to any people, it's going to be difficult for people to take me down. I'm always ready for that. And especially after being out in the States for this long, and I had my whole fight camp, obviously American Top Team is, you know, so my wrestling was through the roof. You know, my defense and offense was, you know, on point. So, yeah, everything was on top for that fight.
going back to the ACB show itself, when did you actually get the call that you'd be fighting on the show? If you can remember.
Maybe 8 weeks or 7 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks out from the fight, or maybe 8 weeks out from the fight.
So you say about
possibly
6, 7, 8 weeks away from the
yeah,
fight.
something like that. I believe. I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Would you say this is obviously was that your biggest fight of your career?
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest win of my career. And to be honest, I think I thought how I should fight the other day. My fights before that, my decision wins, wasn't me fighting. You know, it was very playing it safe and stuff because, you know, I don't want to get that loss on my record now because, you know, this win streak's so strong. You know, if you look at the MMA industry, how many people are riding 11-fight win streaks, really? You could probably count maybe on two hands how many people are doing that. And there's some legit names in there. You know, 2 UFC veterans are in there. You know, you got Danny Mitchell, and then my other biggest win was against Simeon Thorenson. He was like 17-3 or something when I fought him. You know, he just got cut from the UFC, and then I beat him on a decision. It was the same strategy with this guy. So, you know, he's a submission guy, not a striker, so forth. But yeah, I can't remember actually the point I was getting to. But yeah. It's there's not a lot of people that are riding that, so it was good for people to see me fight how I want to fight.
So how was the support been after the fight and even before the fight?
As in for up in Scotland?
Yeah, just
or in general.
Support in general, because I was looking at
in general.
I was looking at the video itself, and I think it's got something like 140,000 views, something incredible like that.
Yeah.
The video is like got
Um,
some about 140,000 views.
yeah, the support before the fight obviously was very good. You know, I've always got people supporting me and so forth. I didn't have anyone come up to Scotland other than my dad and my coach, but you know, that's not the end of the world. It was live on on the computer, so people could watch it. But yeah, you know, support's been great. You know, I've got good support in that for me. So I always, you know, one of my biggest things that's quite a downer, I think, is sponsors. I always struggle with sponsors. I don't understand why. You know, you get some people that, even amateurs, that are sponsored by all these people. They get money, income from here, there, and everywhere. And you know, that is probably my only downfall, is that I have no income. You know, I have to rely on asking my dad and my parents for money. Do you know what I mean? And I hate that. But other than that, my friends and family and everyone's obviously very supportive. Obviously, I'm, you know, almost living out in the States already, to try and pursue my career. But financially, it's always a difficult thing. But that's all. But other than that, you know, everything's good. Especially after the fight, I had some really good feedback and that. So
Yeah, because you had your teammate as well, Robert Whiteford, on the card as well. I think he's a good friend of
hmm
yours as well.
yep, yep.
Was that did that make the experience a little bit more comfortable for yourself having Robert there as well?
It was really nice, obviously, seeing since he got cut from the UFC, you know, and then we got both put on the same fight card. It was, you know, that's amazing. You know, he's a really good friend of mine now, and we've become really close. So it was, you know, it was fantastic, and I did feel really comfortable. He was in my change room before my fight, because obviously I fought before him, and you know, I was warm, I was hitting pads, and he was like, "Oh Jesus, you hit anyone with that, you're knocking them out." Oh, and he was very, you know, very boosted and positive with it. So that was really nice to have, really, really nice to have.
So do you think this is now, after your victory at ACB, do you think this is finally the springboard that you need to get onto the bigger promotions? Because I know you fought at Cage Warriors. I think you fought at Cage Warriors twice before obviously there were problems. Are you
Yep.
hoping maybe to get back onto Cage Warriors again in the future?
Not necessarily. You know, there's a lot of shows out there. Obviously, Cage Warriors being one of them, but there's a lot of events I can fight on. You know, it's just one of them things now. What is the next step for me? Right, the winning streak that I'm riding and the wins I've got behind me, I can't see why I'm not on the big platform. But again, it's just a waiting game and kind of seeing what happens. So we just have to see what kind of pops up.
Yeah, I mean, so is that the ultimate goal now? You're just like, right, I'll just keep this win streak going, but not just that. You're not going to grind out a decision. You're just going to get straight in there and still do your business and still try to knock the other guy out. So I think when a lot of fighters have got a good win streak going, they might start being a lot more conservative and just trying to grind out the decision, grind out the win.
That was kind of how my last four fights were, other than my previous one. The four fights before that, my four decisions, that's kind of how they were or ended up, which is very downing, because I didn't want that. Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. You know, in my last fight, I said to myself, and my coach has said to me, "Jake, don't see this as a big fight or a big opportunity. Just see it as a fight. Just go there to scrap it out, and you know, fight smart, but just go to war." And I've done that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you thought you were talking about your win streak and things like that, but I don't always think necessarily that's what the UFC are looking for, a massive win streak. I think what the UFC are looking for are exciting fighters. I mean, you've got people like Ivan Bunjiker, who's, I think he's riding like an 11-fight win streak or something since losing to Conor McGregor. You've got other fighters like Chris Fishgold and Paddy Pimblett and Pietro Menga. They're all riding good win streaks as well. I think what
hmm
the UFC are looking for are just really exciting fighters, not fighters that are going to grind out decisions and things like that. You know, something for
hmm
the fans.
Yep.
Um,
Totally, and that's how I fight normally. Do you know what I mean? I went from knocking everyone out like Denniston and Jermaine and these other guys, and then I had some. But don't get me wrong, I've stepped it up a level on Cage Warriors with some really tough guys, but I still did play it safe in certain circumstances when I should have just gone hungry to try and finish someone. But you know, I ground out them wins. I've still got them wins, and then I've just got a KO to let people know that I have still got knockout power.
how are you feeling now in your mind anyway? I mean, have you got any injuries or anything like that from the fight?
No, and I think my leg was a little bit sore from taking like a couple low kicks, but it's good as gold now. Yeah, some paracetamol and some ice. Simple.
So
I'm good as
you're,
gold, back in the gym tomorrow. So
so you would say you're ready to go again. You're just looking for another
yeah,
promotion to contact you.
yeah, Yep, pretty much, mate. I've had my bit of chill time, eating my food and just relaxing. But I'm back at the gym, and I'm having one more week here, and then I'm back off to ATT. So I'm back there preparing, get myself ready for what comes up next.
Right, fantastic. I think we'll end it there, Jake. Anyway, I really appreciate your time, by the way, and I just want to say, from
No,
from
thanks for
my
having me.
point of view, as a writer and interviewer, I'm also a massive MMA fan. I think you've got a new fan from me here. Anyway, I think you are a I
Wicked.
think you are a big inspiration to anyone that wants to start mixed martial arts, especially someone who started so young as well.
I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you, and thanks for having me on the show.
No problem. I appreciate it.